Hello and welcome to Overtime Hockey Talk. My name is Mark Paul. Co-host here is Justin Baker, and we are ready to give you our predictions. We have been a little slackish on our preview of the league, so we did what we did, and now it's just time to move on. And let's just get current here. So we're gonna give you our predictions on the season. My predictions didn't have too much basis in the first 2 to 4 games for most teams. I left most of that. Didn't really look at the standing so much because I don't really care 3 games into the year, but giving our predictions for the season and our predictions for trophies. So, Justin, how did you like how does this year differ for you? This is year number 8 for us. That's insane. There are potentially children that listen to this show now. No, I don't know any 8-year-olds that listen to our show, but that would be weird. 8 years is a
Been with
long
you
time.
longer than I've been with my wife.
That's true. Same. I guess I've known my wife. Let's see. We met in March and we started the show in August. So you guys are same year at least. 2017 is both of our anniversaries. Yeah, but so we're going on into our 8th season of hockey, which is incredible. Has anything changed for you in these predictions? I was thinking about that a little bit today. I'm wondering if you, from that first year to now, if you're thinking about them a little
I'm a
differently.
little bit more of a gambler, I think, sometimes. Not necessarily just taking swings or just throwing shit out there, but just you may have, I don't know, 4 or 5 guys piled up like, okay, cool, I can make an argument for these guys. And so sometimes instead of taking the obvious pick, I'm just going to take a swing on somebody sometimes. Gamble a little bit.
All right. Yeah, what you learn is that all the predictions in the beginning of the year, all the should be's and could be's, usually at least one of them just gets completely blown out of the water, and there's some team that shocks everybody. So there's no reason not to take a swing. If you just go with all the teams that are good on paper, hey, an NHL simulation, they would win. That's no fun. So there's always a team that is unexpected that sneaks in and causes some damage.
I
So
got a couple of those in my playoff
with
previews.
that, yeah, and I think I've got a couple of those with my trophies that I guess maybe everybody's just sick of well, is McDavid going to win every single thing? Maybe. Now, he could certainly win some awards, but I bank on the fact that a lot of writers are like me where they don't want the same guy winning all the time.
And can I just say this, because I'm just going to throw a little tease out there for anybody who wants to listen to the rest of the podcast. I did not give McDavid or anybody from Edmonton a single award this year.
Wow. Okay. I did give him one.
That's fair.
That's it. Just gave him one. So I'm not ready. I'll just tell you right now, I'm not ready to give anyone else the Art Ross trophy. That's just his trophy to lose. And if he goes and loses it, fair enough. But it's like picking against Gretzky in his prime to not win that award. And for my money, there's no Lemieux yet. Bedard isn't good enough yet. He doesn't have the pieces around him yet for me to even consider him for that. So there you go. There's my Art Ross already. A little too early in the show. Do we want to start with trophies or do we want to do teams? Because we're going to do both. We're going to do predictions for teams making the playoffs and then also the trophies. So, Justin, I'll let you pick.
Let's do the teams first. I actually did my whole entire playoff bracket down to the Stanley Cup champs.
Oh, okay. I've got the first round, and then I have winning Stanley Cup. So I don't have all that, but we can.
I can go through mine
quickly.
Yeah, we
can certainly.
if you
Okay.
want.
Okay. Yeah. Let's start here. Let's start at the places that we've already done. If you have missed some of the show, we did preview the Metropolitan Division. We did preview the Central Division, so you can go back and listen to those. Subscribe to the show wherever it is that you are listening / watching. Why don't we start in that division, in that Central Division, playoff bracket vibe, since we did cover that already? Where'd you end up landing on?
Yeah, so I think initially I had Dallas, Nashville, and Colorado, but I did make a little tweak to that. Gave it a little bit more thought, and I don't want to say the beginning of the season weighed in on it, but maybe it was 10% weight on it. So for me anyways, when you look at the Central Division, I've got Dallas at number 1, and then of course...
So do I, actually.
Nice. And then I have them for the first round playing wild card. I've got them playing the Utah Hockey Club.
So do I.
I love it.
I didn't even, and I know you sent me your predictions. I didn't even look. I just looked and went, "Oh, okay, I see what he's doing." And I did the same thing. I did not process what was actually in yours.
Well, I
So
think I
that's really
texted
funny
you and
that
said I was
we
going
have
to
the
make
same thing.
some minor tweaks to it. So the expectation wasn't
Oh,
that it
that's
was going
true.
to be what I sent you. Yeah. And then,
And I will say that pick was influenced by what I have seen so far because I've watched a couple of their games and they look really
mhm,
fast. And there's always the factor of it being a new team. We've seen how that can have an impact on a team season. And I just loved what the owner, Ryan Smith, I heard an interview and he was like, "Look, Utah Jazz, guys come here and they have everyone's having career years." People were like, "Why are they having career years?" He's like, "It's because it's amazing here. It's beautiful. You've got the mountains, you've got like all these places to hike. This like you have a disconnect from the rest of the world where you can like unplug for a little while and what that does for players' psyche and the just the health benefits of being able to unplug is it's just
mm,
immeasurable, and you see it in the way that basketball players go to the Utah Jazz and have career years. I was like, "All right, you know what? Imma buy into that." I'm willing to put, like, some prediction power behind the Utah Jazz because of what he said in the first. It was leading up to the first game of the year. I was like, "That is a good point." If that's true and a bunch of guys have career years, that usually spells the
yeah. And what I
playoffs.
will say too, that to onto that is if you think about it, like in Toronto, New York, there's the pressure that comes with the added media availability and just being in the city in a marketplace like that. Whereas in Utah, yes, it's a good market, but doesn't have that added pressure that typically comes with places like New York or Toronto.
Sure, and the first year, everyone's just
Right.
happy
And I
you're
think
there,
that's
and if you happen to
yeah, and
win,
I think
great.
that's my thought process was behind putting them in this. It was its first year. We look at what Seattle did right their first year. Yes, they didn't make the playoffs. But I think considering what they had as far as their team is concerned and not really having seasons together like everybody else, they still got that, I think, that new franchise boost where they played a little bit better than maybe they should have. And of course, it worked out pretty
Yes.
well for them, I think, the next year.
Well, and the difference for Utah is that this is a team that has been playing
Yes.
together, and some of these younger guys did have sneaky good years last year, and now they're being put into a situation where you're not dealing with all this outside noise. Is the team gonna move? Are we getting an arena?
Hmm.
Like, the all
Arena
that stuff,
dump.
I'm sure just was annoying. It was yeah, playing in front of 17 people each night is just silly. Now you feel like even though I know there's a spot in that arena, if you get too high up on either side of the goalies where you actually
They
can't see the
advertise it
net,
as a one goal seat, is what they call it.
a one goal it is what it is, right? Like, they'll do something to fix that
Yeah.
eventually, I'm sure, but for now, it is what it is. Not a seat I would ever buy. I couldn't buy it. Rather watch on TV. That's just dumb. If you wanna go to a game and just, like, get drunk, okay, fine, but I
Tickets
no,
20
couldn't do
bucks.
it.
I'll take it for 20 bucks. So
Yeah. Okay, so we've got Dallas and Utah. Who do you have in your 2, 2, 3 for that division
I've
for
got
the Central?
Nashville and Winnipeg for my next playoff round there. And I think
I didn't hear
no, and
Colorado.
so Colorado was in that 3 spot, and I think that's where I made a little bit of a change too, tweaked it a little bit after
Okay,
giving it some more thought, and Utah was one of those other teams, but for me, I just when push comes to shove, I'll always lean towards a better goaltender, and just giving it more thought, obviously, Connor Hellebuyck, I think, is still gonna have a phenomenal season, and, so I gave them the
right.
nod.
Okay. Do you have Colorado in another wild card
They
spot,
are in the
perhaps?
other wild card.
Okay, okay. So we'll just jump into the Pacific from there. I have Winnipeg 2,
Okay.
Colorado 3, and then I have Nashville as that first wild card spot. So we're right there. Like we've just flipped
So a
Colorado and
5-3
Nashville.
though, that's
Uh,
I like that though. A
say that again.
5-3, 5 from the Central, 3 from the
Yeah,
Pacific, I love it.
yeah. Yep. I actually did the same exact thing in the Eastern
Same.
Conference as well. I do have Vegas winning the
Okay,
Pacific, so I've got Nashville playing the Vegas Golden Knights in round
okay.
1.
I've got Edmonton playing Colorado in round 1. Edmonton takes the Pacific.
Okay. I did let the beginning of this year influence me a little bit as I went, "Guy, like, this is the 2nd year in a row that you're starting out really not just, oh, we lost a 7-6 game, we lost a 5-4 game in overtime or something." Like, they've scored 3 goals in 3 games, and that's It's just concerning that it feels like we're going through it again.
It does have that feeling, doesn't it?
I know that could all change game number 4, they go and they win 5-0 and they start rolling. I know it can all change. It's just I'm dropping Vegas in at number 1. I just think after last year, they're extra hungry again, and they're having a great start, and I expected them to have a great
Mhm.
start. I love the fact that early on in a place like Vegas, there's no pressure right now. Like, people aren't watching the way that they are in Edmonton, right? Like, in Edmonton, in Vancouver, the season starts and that's what people watch. That's it. There's nothing else to watch. Whereas in Vegas, we've got the NFL. There's other things going on, and the NFL takes center stage until January or whenever the Raiders get eliminated there. Then we move on to Vegas, but it's not the center stage to start the year. So I think you've got a little bit more. You're maybe a little looser hopping in, and you're just having fun. Not everyone's talking about you the same way that they're talking about the Oilers, and there's a ton of pressure on the Oilers. Like, you made it to the finals, game 7, it's time to go. And McDavid's talking about, I don't want to talk about last year anymore. Well, this year is starting a whole lot like last year, and that's concerning. So I have them
Okay.
2, though. It's not like I have them out of the playoffs or anything. They just have them number 2, and I've got Vancouver as my number 3.
Ooh, okay. So got Vegas as my number 2. And personally, I think there's not much separation, right? This is why I'm okay with making the argument for Vegas at number 1. I don't think there's only going to be 1 or 2 wins separating Edmonton and Vegas there at the top. And then as far as 3, 4, 5 in this division, I think there's not much separation, but there is a huge drop off between 2 and 3. So when you go from Vegas to the next team, which for me, I've got LA. So I've got Vancouver missing the playoffs entirely. So I've got
Mm,
Vegas and LA in that first round series, but for me, it's just Vancouver, Seattle. I think they're right there on the bubble with Utah, but I think Utah gets a slight nod because for me, I'm concerned when it comes to Vancouver. No Thatcher Demko for a while. Shelov's the first game aside, I don't trust him. I don't trust their goaltending duel they have with Lankin in there, and I don't think with that defense, obviously outside of that Hronek and Hughes pairing up front, I don't have a lot of faith in what's left on that back end. So between the goaltending and back end, to me, I just think that's a recipe for disaster, and I don't know how often they're gonna be able to score their way out of games.
okay. Yeah, I think you look at the Central Division, and I just go, Chicago's better. They just naturally are gonna be better. I think St. Louis is gonna be a little bit better. I know they start the season 2-1, but I don't think they're a playoff team, but I think they'll be better than they were last year, and I think Minnesota's still gonna be knocking around. They're not gonna get
Mhm.
worse. So I think the Central Division's a tough division too, but so is the Pacific. The Sharks, with adding Celebrini, that just makes them
Yeah, and Will
automatically better
Smith, I
than they were last year. There's something to play with, and they're bringing up younger
mm,
guys. And Anaheim, I think, is going to be slightly improved, not by a ton, but I think that all in all, the West got better. The bottom's pulling their way up. So I don't know that we see as drastic of a point difference between the two, but I'm going Nashville and Utah snagging those wild cards. And Uh, the Pacific, I'm just not sold. Like, I'm not sold on Calgary, although they have had a really nice start. They're battling. Like, they're clearly going to be a team that is going to battle all year long. And the problem with that is that eventually you get exhausted, you get injuries, and you go through slumps, and that will happen to Calgary eventually, I think. But hey, they're having a great start, enjoying their start. Really, like, they've had some great, really fun games, and Anaheim to me is still a couple of years away from doing anything of significance. So, uh, yeah, I've got Edmonton, Vancouver. I think Vancouver's both games they've blown a lead. They've had the lead deep into games. Some you could say they're not defending a lead. It's early on in the year. You're not playing as great defensively usually early in the season. They're they've been fine. They're scoring goals. They just let in too many right now, and I think they'll figure that out. I don't think Shelov's is going to be quite as impressive. They're definitely going to want to get Demko back. So maybe their result in the end depends on how long Thatcher Demko finds himself
couldn't
out.
agree more.
Um, okay, Eastern Conference
Oh boy.
Metro. Since we've already done the Metro, the full preview of it, where'd you end up landing on the Metro?
Yeah,
Who
so
wins
I didn't
the
change
Metro?
my standings at all for this division, but they only get 3 teams in. For the first spot, obviously, I've got the Rangers. I think, again, they repeat last year, and they're not going to be the President's Trophy again this year, even though I do think Shesterkin
Okay.
is going to have a career year, if you want to call it that, um, or at least a really good year, right? We know he's in a contract year, so I think he's going to play extremely well this year. And then playing them in the wild card spot, the number 8 seed is going to be the Red Wings.
Okay. Red Wings second
Hmm.
wild card. All right. Um, that's yeah, we differ there a little bit. So I've got New Jersey as the
Ooh,
top team in the Metropolitan Division. It's no secret that I love Sheldon Keefe in the regular season. I think he's a fantastic regular season coach because he just does well managing through slumps. He does well at keeping guys really level all year long. Like there's he doesn't go and change a lot. Like he's got his lines. If he likes a line, he's just gonna keep on going. And his mentality is like, yeah, maybe things aren't going well in this moment, but we know these players are good. They're good together. Let's keep them together. Whereas you get other coaches who change things a lot. And I actually think it's funny. Craig Berube is a guy who will just change. He's been changing lines the whole time. But that's what the Leafs need because they've just spent the last 5 seasons with someone who and frankly, Mike Babcock was a lot like that too, where they just they're stuck in the lines that they want and they stick to them. And eventually, if that proves not to work well with that particular group, then yeah, you need somebody who's willing to switch things up. But I think for New Jersey, the consistency is going to be a huge factor. And I think it's going to work out well for them. And regular season wide, like they're defensively, they weren't great last year. I think he's going to shore that up from a team perspective. And they're just going to play fast and with the puck
mm,
all the time. They're going to have the puck a ton. They have tons of players who can hold on to that puck and do a lot with it. So I love the fit with Keefe and his system. And I think New Jersey's going to they're going to be that team to beat in the Metropolitan Division because adding in Markstrom is just
save
absolute
of the year
money.
already.
That's what right, and it's what they need. It's what they need. They have a fantastic
Hmm.
goaltending duo, and that's gonna change things for them through the entire year. That's the difference. They have Markstrom last year, they're in the playoffs. Almost no doubt about it, they're in the playoffs. And I think with Keefe's system, I think it's gonna work well with a lot of those guys. Yeah, I've got New Jersey winning I have them winning the Metro.
Okay.
I do not have them winning the President's Trophy. I also don't have them they are the second number 1. So I have them playing the first wild card, whom I think is going to be the Boston Bruins.
Ooh. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Don't hate it.
So Boston Bruins, I think Boston's going to be good. They finally got their goalie. They got Swayman, and they'll battle here all year long. And I don't think that they're a team that is going to be tops in the Atlantic anymore. But I'm not willing to eliminate them from the playoffs this year.
All right. I can dig it though. Boston. Okay.
Okay. All right. Who do you have in the 2-3 for? Oh, yeah, no,
No,
you
no.
didn't say it. You didn't say it. Who do
So
you
I've
have in
got
the
New
2-3?
Jersey and Carolina. Right. Unchanged from our
Okay.
preview.
All right. So we switched New Jersey and New York because I have New
Okay.
York and Carolina.
And that's it from the Metro for me. No one else gets in.
Yeah, same. I looked at it and I just went, okay, Columbus, no. Philly, I still think that last year they overperformed and I'm just not ready to put them in there yet. Pittsburgh, they just don't look like they look like they'll be at times fun to watch, but I don't think that they're a playoff team. The Islanders, I just don't want the Islanders to get in. No offense.
They're boring.
I just think they're boring, and I want them to change their team. Like, I want them to lose so that they can finally go, "Okay, fine, we'll change. We'll change, like, 3 players." And then Washington, I think they'll be more interesting as Ovechkin starts to inch towards that record, but I don't they got so lucky to make the playoffs last year. It was unbelievable, and I think that they'll find themselves quite a bit further down the standings than they were this
Mm.
last season in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm not buying into Charlie Lindgren myself, although I do think Logan Thompson will
No.
eventually. I think we talked about this, but I think he'll eventually steal that starter spot. Not to say that he's going to
Yeah.
play phenomenal or out of his mind, but I think Lindgren just won't hold.
A 1A, 1B kinda
Yeah, sure.
50-30 type of game split seems reasonable. Okay, who do you have winning the
Okay, so
Atlantic?
I've got Boston winning the Atlantic, and at number 1.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right. So that
I flip-flopped on
no wonder you were
I
surprised.
flip-flopped on Boston and Toronto here for quite a long time, but
Mm,
ultimately, when push came to shove, I just think with Craig Berube, I think he's obviously he's gonna change lines quite a bit, and just having a whole new system and a whole new way that they're gonna play the game, I think for me is just gonna take a little bit of time and not knowing where Wall is and what kind of production they're gonna get out of him yet because he's not really a true tried and true tested goaltender. He's not a veteran guy. He's
sure.
relatively new, untested. I think the defense is gonna be a little bit better, at least from that aspect. I think on that side of the puck, they'll play better. They'll have less goals for, but how much is Austin Matthews gonna score, I think will be a good topic of conversation.
Hasn't scored yet.
Mhm.
Yeah, maybe Willie Nylander for the Rocket
Oh,
this
okay.
year. I actually have the Leafs as the number 1 team in the Atlantic. I'm willing to go out on a limb here and say they're going to win the President's Trophy for the first time in my life.
Ooh. Oh, I love it, though.
That is my I think that this is it. We've said this too many times, this is
I've been
it,
calling
but this
I've been
has to
calling the
be it.
Rangers to win the cup for the last 5 years, it feels, so this is it, okay?
It's true. But this group isn't getting another chance. There's just no way on God's green earth because if they lose, I know they're talking about an extension with Tavares. I think that's cute. I think that they just need to be like, look, this deal is on the table and we will leave this here for you as long as you guys do something in the playoffs that is exciting and worth speaking about. So this like if they lose in the first round of the playoffs again, Tavares can't be on the team anymore. He just can't. I don't care how good he is. I don't care if you feel like you have a hole now at 2C, 3C, wherever you want to slot him. You can't bring him back. Can't. And man, I don't think you want to lose Marner for nothing, but maybe you just lose Marner for nothing. And you just take your cap
Yeah.
space and hope that you can build and guys want to come play with
Convince Mikko
Matthews.
Rantanen to come there
I
and
don't know.
sign?
I don't know. It just does like how could you come back with even most of the group? Like not re-signing the old guy who is in his mid-30s isn't they're finally switching it up. You got to do something crazy. So, but anyways, I think this is going to be their year. I'm not calling them for the Stanley Cup yet, but I'm saying they are going to be really good. They're going to be really hard to play against, and they're going to set themselves up to have home ice advantage through the entire playoffs.
Okay. I don't hate it, really. Again, I flip-flop between Boston and Toronto, so I think they're both gonna finish right there.
And by the way, I have Detroit as the second wild
Woo-hoo-hoo.
card playing the Toronto Maple Leafs in
Okay.
round
I've
1. So the other side of this is if they did lose in round 1 and my prediction was right, I think I would just have to quit. Not life, but like maybe the show. I don't know if I could ever talk about hockey
Oh, that would
again.
be brutal. I'll say that would be brutal. I also forgot to mention too for my wild card spot, they're gonna finish above Detroit in the wild card standings, but I've got Florida actually as a wild card. I think there's
Okay.
gonna be a little bit of a Stanley Cup hangover, and they're gonna be battling. And then I think that loss
Okay.
on defense too is gonna hurt them. I don't think Eric Ekblad and Forsling are gonna be able to play 35 minutes a night, so we'll see how that pans out.
Okay. Yeah, and you honestly hope they don't have to play as often if you can figure that
Yeah.
out, but so no Senators. Senators aren't in. I know right now they're 3rd in that division, so that's why I
Yeah.
ask.
No, no Senators, no Buffalo.
Okay. Tampa?
So for the 2, 3, yeah,
Who's
I've
your
got
2, 3?
Toronto at 2, and I've got Tampa at 3.
Okay. I have Florida at 2 and
Okay.
Tampa at 3. So Toronto, Florida, Tampa, Boston, Detroit for the Atlantic all
Yep, I
make
think
those.
we got the same picks, different spots.
Yeah, same exact teams. That's funny. Uh, okay, yeah, so I don't have trucking through all these rounds, but let's just hear your quick predictions on who you think who's going to be in the conference finals. Tell us
Well,
who you
let's
think
go
will be in the
west. So I've got Dallas over Utah, Winnipeg over Nashville, right? So then we've got Dallas, Winnipeg, and then I've got Edmonton losing to Colorado in the first round. And then I've got Vegas over LA. So then we've got Vegas over Colorado and Winnipeg over Dallas. So in the West, I've got Winnipeg and Vegas for the conference finals there.
Okay, Winnipeg and Vegas. They finally make it back to the
Yep.
conference finals.
Yep. And then in the East, so I've got New York, where I got the Rangers over Detroit, Jersey over Carolina, and then I've got Florida over Boston, and then Toronto over Tampa Bay. And then
Okay.
to go into the conference finals, I've got Toronto over Florida and the Rangers over New Jersey. So we've got a Rangers Toronto conference final.
Shoot. So Rangers, Toronto, and then Dallas
Vegas.
and
Or no, Winnipeg and Vegas.
Vegas. Or no, Winnipeg and Vegas. Okay. Yeah, I still think I actually can really see a Dallas Vegas rematch, and this time it happening in the
Yeah.
conference finals where it belongs. Where it belongs. That belongs there. And then in the East, wouldn't it be fun to just have a Toronto, New Jersey conference final and have Sheldon
Oh,
Keefe like, finally you made it here, and now it's with another team, and now the one team standing in your way of a final
yeah,
is
that
the
would be
Leafs.
rough.
That would be fun. Although I think that with my bracket, I think I probably go New Jersey beats Boston, and then New York beats Carolina, and then New York beats Jersey. So I would also have the Leafs and the Rangers in the conference finals. So we're the same there. Who do you have winning
Okay,
the cup?
so I've got the Rangers over Toronto
Of course you do.
and Vegas over Winnipeg. Ultimately, I'm still sticking with it. I've got the Rangers again winning the cup. I got to ride or die this one, I feel like. This is it for me, right? They don't pull it out this year. I think I'm going to have to change picks.
Yeah, I would think after that, after 6 straight years of picking the Rangers to win the cup, on one hand, it's bound to happen. On the other hand, you may be cursed.
Yeah, and I will say, I do think what we're going to probably see happen is we're going to see Capo Caco get traded at the deadline, I think, for a top 4 defenseman for the Rangers.
Okay. Okay. I think I got to go Vegas making it to the finals in the Western Conference,
Samesies?
and they're going to play the
Ooh,
Leafs.
the
Playing
Leafs.
the Leafs in the finals. So
Who wins?
I am picking the Leafs over the Rangers, and ultimately, Leafs
Ah,
win the Stanley Cup. Here we go. Let's go.
Rube's first
I
year.
don't care if it's a homer
Okay.
pick. Rube's first year. Hey, sometimes that first year is like your only shot, especially for a guy like Berube. You just got to jump in there, change the culture. Let's go win. The last time he got hired as a head coach, his team won the Stanley Cup his first year. So
That's
that's
fair.
what I'm going with.
Okay.
They are going to have to make some kind of really intense trade, really a trade that sends shockwaves through that team in order to get there. But I think it's somewhere on the table,
Ooh, a really intense trade.
especially okay, so if the Leafs are in a position to be that top team in the league, you're going to look at them and go, they're really good. It's time to spend our assets on bringing in players. And at that point, that's where you're going out and you're bringing in
Maybe Nicholas
someone,
Robinson,
a couple
first
guys.
round pick goes out.
For sure, Nicholas Robertson is going to
Yeah,
be the
yeah.
chip. I think right now what you're doing is you're going to try and build him up as much as you can. I think you recognize that he may not be a fit long term on this team, but he's got talent and he's somebody that you could flip for somebody. It's probably more likely that you're looking to trade Liljegren. He doesn't seem to be a favorite of Berube at this stage, and he's costing them some money as well, like a Yarn Croak. You're looking to get him out of there so that you can open up the salary cap. They are $1 under the salary cap. That's unbelievable that you could be $1. You're like, look, I can't give you this extra dollar because we'll be equal to the cap. So we got to keep $1
Mm-mm.
under the cap. Amazing. Okay. There are our predictions for the year. We'll save these spreadsheets that we have and we will look back at them maybe at the halfway point and see if we're anywhere close.
Okay, I love it.
And we'll check back in. All right, let's do our predictions for these different trophies. Obviously, we'll save the Hart for last. So let's get into some of the lesser trophies. Who do you think's going to win the Rookie of the Year? Let's start.
The Calder. Yes. This one, obviously, Celebrini, Mitchkoff, those kind of picks are the sexy picks. But like I said, sometimes I just like to swing for the fences a little bit more and or take a gamble. So for me, I'm going Lane Hudson from the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, he's had a
Yeah,
great start.
he looks.
Would you have made that pick before this
Yeah,
year? If we were doing this 2 weeks ago, you
yeah,
would have
I
picked
think
him?
so. I think my reasoning. I know a lot of people are going to pick Mitchkoff because he's the phenom, right? The Russian phenom, but For me, I just don't know how well he's gonna work with Tortorella in his system, and Tortorella has a very short fuse with guys. He could be up and down that lineup really quick, and I leaned towards him a little bit, and then he got hurt, and I was like, okay, we're gonna have another Bedard year where he still comes back healthy and then knocks it out of the park." But I wanted to take a little bit of a wild card. I like Lane Hudson's game. I love just the speed, the offense he brings to the game, and he's gonna see a lot of power play time. I think if he can put up 50-ish points, much like Mo Seider did a few years back, I think he can lock this thing up because I don't think Celbrini's going to eclipse 60 points or even get close to a point per game, really. I think if Lane Hudson can do that, I think it's his.
And if Montreal is a player, like they look like they're going to be
Yeah,
okay.
thanks.
They're not going to be nearly as bad as last year. They're 2-1 to start the year. They're playing well. They're much faster, and they've got a lot more talent up front. So they're more dangerous. Their goaltending on paper, I don't love their goaltending, but Montembeault looks like a friggin' man on fire, willing to at least see how that rides out. I think the pressure of being the number one guy walking into camp last year was too much for him, but this year he's been able to deal with it, and he's been much better
Yeah.
to start the year. So I think that if like they're in it and his games are meaningful, Lane Hudson's goals are important, that gives him the tip over a Celebrini there's no way his goals are going to be meaningful as far as like chasing the playoffs or anything. It's just going to be, can he get the numbers? I actually have someone that you did not mention
Oh,
as my winner. He has the same exact stat line right now as Lane Hudson, though, and that is Logan
ooh, okay.
Stankovic for the Dallas Stars. Also has 4 points in 3 games to start the year and is a +3. But yeah, Logan Stankovic, I think he's a center and he's going to get power play time, and he's playing with better players and the better team. I think he has a legitimate chance of putting up 70 points. If he does that, he wins.
I don't disagree with you.
And like Dallas is going to go through fewer slumps than Montreal,
Very true.
and that is going to a guy first 10 games in the league, teams maybe aren't playing for him, and they're going to start targeting Hudson. I think about Dylan Larkin, his rookie season. I think he had 15 goals by the end of December. And people were like, "Oh man, he's killing it. Like he's going to have 40 goals." And then I think he had 6 the rest of the year. I want to say, fact check me. Let's see if I'm wrong, but pretty sure that Dylan Larkin his rookie season. I remember I remember saying this is not going to continue. He's young and no one's targeting him, and now they're going to start targeting him. And they did, and then he really struggled. And that's that. Obviously, Dylan Larkin has turned into a phenomenal player for the Red Wings. Yeah, his rookie season, he had 23 goals.
Okay.
So there you
So
go.
I'll tell you what.
A good rookie
Yeah,
season.
as far as Stankoven's concerned, the one thing I think a lot of people are going to forget is obviously, I think when you look up and down this lineup, we've got Rube Hintz and Jason Robertson on that top line, and we forget Joe Pa was on that right wing. Stankoven right now is slotted in at that third line right wing spot with Wyatt Johnson and Jamie Benn. And so Ben and Johnson are going to stick together. They had such good chemistry last year. But for me, Stankoven could be a guy because right now they got Dadonov on that top line. I could see Stankoven slowly make his way up there.
Slotting up.
And
But if he does that, then like just hand him the Calder
yeah,
Trophy
because if you
now
think about it,
because
guys are gonna you say targeting guys, right? Guys are gonna target Lane Hudson once he gets going. I think guys, when you see Robertson and Hintz out there, they're gonna look at those 2 guys first. Stankoven could just be sitting on an island and have just ample opportunity to really cash in.
and I think Stankoven had that extra year in the
Mhm.
American League.
Bless you.
Excuse me. He had that extra year in the American League, and I think that he maybe like he's a year
Mhm.
older. He's bigger. Not bigger. I didn't
Well,
mean to say bigger. He's certainly smaller. He's 165,
put on a little mass, okay.
but he's got that extra year, which does make a difference. I think when I say bigger, you have that extra year to develop your body. Yes, he's small, but consider the great late Johnny Gaudreau. In his early on his career, he was still equally as short, but he put on some strength as
Mhm.
he got older and became much tougher to play against because of that power that he had developed. And 1 year can make a big difference. So I'm going with Stankoven for rookie of
Don't
the
hate
year.
it.
But any of those Hudson or even Celebrini, all those are good picks. The guy from Philly, good picks. Let's go
Ooh,
Norris.
love it.
Defenseman of the year. Who do you
I've got
have?
Roman Yossi finally taking home this hardware.
Okay, all
I
right.
think the addition of Stamkos.
He won it in no,
Never
he
won
didn't
it.
win. He was in
I
net
remember
in
the
last
year
year.
he had
That's right.
90 some points and he was, I think, 10 points above Cale Makar and still lost out. I get it. Cale Makar is the offensive dynamo. He just looks like a more exciting player. But I think with the addition of those extra couple
Mm,
pieces up front for
Stamkos.
Nashville and even getting Brady Shea back on that back end, I think is going to help him get a little extra couple minutes where he's not just having to play that those tough defensive minutes is going to give him a little bit more time in the offensive zone where I think he's just going to, again, flourish. Especially, he's going to see all PP one time all this year for them. For me, I think Roman Yossi is going to finally take home some hardware.
Okay, now here's the problem with Roman Yossi. He's been nominated every other year, and he was nominated last year. I think that means he's not going to get nominated this year. He can't do it. He can't do it 2 years in a row. You're not allowed. No, he's a great pick for that. And with the addition, you got to think that he's going to be in a
Mhm.
better position. Now that could make it so that he doesn't need to put up the same amount
Maybe,
of
yeah.
carry the play the same way, and that could lower his amount of points, but I don't think by very much. And you think the power play should be better for Nashville once they all figure it out and gel. He'll just be feeding Stamkos on that left side anyway, so it'll be all good. Um, I have Josh Morrissey
Ooh,
winning the Norris Trophy. I think that he's going to be the sneaky guy that just has a great year for Winnipeg. Winnipeg is poised to look. They looked great defensively last year. Hellebuck makes everybody look better defensively. I think Hellebuck has another phenomenal year, and Josh Morrissey puts up career high in points, and the Winnipeg Jets are one of the top teams in the NHL, and I think that he'll take the Norris Trophy. It'll be one of those, wow, like this is his 1 year to win it kind of thing. I don't think he's had never been up for the Norris before, at least not top 3, but this will be his
okay.
year.
I love it.
One of my off the
Okay.
board
I don't think
picks.
it's that off the board. Yeah.
Not too far off the board, but still, he's consistently been a top 10, top 15 defenseman, but I think this will be his extra special year there
Okay.
for
I love it.
Morrissey. Uh, let's do the Lady Byng just to toss it out there. Who do you think's going to win the Lady Byng?
Ooh. You know what? I'm just going to throw out just a little bit of a wild card. I really don't have any reason for this at all. I'm just going to say um, Gustav Nyquist, just because I think why not?
Interesting.
I actually was looking at
Okay.
Roman Yossi, and
Uh,
I always thought the Goose when he gets loose, man, he always keeps it together. He's a gentleman, so I figured why not? You know what? My old Detroit Heart.
when the goose gets loose, when the goose gets loose, I am going to throw out a random. This is funny, not funny. I think it's going to be Connor
Okay,
Bedard. I think the league would love to have him win a trophy, and he's not going to win the other big ones yet. So if he can stay out of penalty trouble, he had 28 penalty minutes last year, and it was just he is often put in spots where he shouldn't have been, and so I think that hurts there. I think he'll have fewer this year, and yeah, he wins the
all
Lady
right. The
Byng.
Goose
My other pick was
Matthews, that would be
Matthews,
great.
so one of those 2 guys.
Yeah, the Goose only had 8.
One of those 2 guys. I think he's won it once. I think he won it once
Matthews?
before. Didn't he? Didn't he win a
No, I
Lady
don't
Byng?
think so.
No. Slavin won it last year. Kopitar, Kyle Connor, Slavin, McKinnon. Those are the last 4
Matthews
winners.
was a nominee
So you're
last
right,
year,
he
so
hasn't
I
won
could
it.
see that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, what trophy you wanna go to
Ooh,
next?
so
You
let's
pick.
do the Rocket Richard. Let's do a big one.
Oh, okay. My pick's Matthews is gonna win it. Don't care that he has no goals through the first 3 games. I am not picking against Austin Matthews to win this
Yeah,
trophy.
I don't hate that either. For me, I'm actually predicting he's gonna crack 70. It'll be 70, but he'll crack it.
Okay. All right. I Here's the one thing. I don't know about
Okay.
70, only because I think that they're gonna have a lot they're gonna be like, "Look, you had 69 goals. Congratulations. It's incredible. Almost 70." And but we're not gonna make this year about you getting 70 again. Like, we saw what happened last year. It just we don't need to do that. We need to be playing playoff hockey those last, the last 10 games of the year. Even if we're way ahead, like, we need to start getting in gear for the playoffs. And I think it's gonna be less about him getting 70. Like, he shouldn't have played in the last game of the season. Nylander shouldn't have played in the last game. Everything was all wrapped up. Everything was done. And they wanted to get him 70. And I think it was foolish. And I think it cost them the first round of the playoffs. Because Nylander plays those first 2 games, and if Nylander's healthy for the other games, the Leafs win
Yeah,
hands
yeah,
down.
I could see that.
The way that series went, like, all it takes is that a superstar player at 100% to
By
go
the
and
way,
win
have you
that
seen the
series.
Face-Off series on Prime?
I have not
So
watched it yet.
so we just started watching it. The first episode, they basically follow around Pasta and Nylander, and you see Nylander sitting at home watching the games, and I'm like, "Oh, if only, man. If only."
Dude. Okay, let's see, Selke?
Okay, the Cel
Oh, wait, you didn't tell
No,
me your
I got
Rocket.
Matthews too. I told you he cracked 70, so
Oh. Oh,
and I
yes,
think
you
it's
said, yeah.
accidental.
Oh, I didn't know if anybody else would crack 70 on your list, you
I
know?
think it's gonna be accidental 72. They're not gonna be trying for it. It's just gonna happen.
Okay. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, maybe you hit 70 in, like, game 79 or something like that, and then you're good. Okay, if we're doing the Rocket, we might as well do the
Okay.
Art Ross. And like I said, I can't pick anybody but
Okay.
McDavid until he loses it.
I mean,
Pick
he lost it
Eichel right
last
now. I
year,
think he
so
leads the league in points. Sure.
yeah,
That's
actually,
true.
so I've got McKinnon taking the Art Ross. For me, I just think, okay, he's got the Hart Trophy from last year, but I think I look at the depth of this Colorado team, and part of the reason I've got them in a wild card spot is I think they have an issue with depth up front at the forward position. I think they're going to lean very heavily on Miko and Nathan to really carry this team, and I think ultimately that's just going to produce a lot of points. Maybe where like last year's with Matthews, right? Maybe not focus as much on that to be successful, but I think Colorado is going to need them to be successful. And I think ultimately you're going to see, again, Matthews, McDavid, McKinnon, Kucherov, all those guys still bundled up there, 120, 130 points each. But ultimately, I think McKinnon just sneaks it out.
The Art Ross, I have McDavid. There's one other guy. I could see Kucherov winning again. He had 100 assists
Mm.
last year. Crazy. And he doesn't have Stamkos to feed, but he does have Gensel to feed. And he may be better.
But Getzel's going to play in that
Like,
bumper, I think. He doesn't really like to play outside like Stammer did. I don't know.
yeah, but you're not going to replace Kucherov in that bumper.
No, you're not going to replace him. But so I'll tell you who I think is going to be a sneaky dark horse pick that I think is going to explode for probably 110, 120 points this year is going to be Kirill the Thrill Kaprizov. I got to say, watch out for this guy. I think he's just going to
Okay.
he's going to
Okay.
carry this Minnesota team all year long, and it's going to be fun to watch.
And I think we've talked about it, that he occasionally does get off to slow
Mhm.
starts. Like a couple years in a row, we've been like, man, where'd he go? And of course, he finishes what he finished last year,
Right.
96 points. I think this year he started off with 4 points in 3 games. Like, I think that he's starting off much quicker than he has in the past. So that may mean, hey, there you go. If you have an extra 15 games of production, that puts him right there in that 120
Mhm.
point range. So that would be, I don't know if that's good enough to win an Art
Yeah,
Ross,
maybe
but
not with this group
it
of talent, but good.
seems like you need 100. How many points
I think
did Kucherov have
144
last
last
year?
year.
Okay, I was gonna say over 140,
Yeah, I think it's
but
going to take
yeah,
100 and
yeah,
at least 130
144.
this year.
If you get 130, you're definitely in the top 3, maybe. I would think. But yeah, that's 140 points is
Mhm.
massive. We might see a decline in the very top end of point. Like that was a pretty crazy year to see that many guys with well over 100 points. And that may not be the norm every single year moving forward. We'll have to see. I hope it is
It
more
would
fun
be, yeah.
that way. Let's see. We have the Selke.
Selke.
I just have Barkov. I just didn't even think about it. Just put his name there.
Okay, I thought about that too, but I actually, you know what? Again, I'm a gambling man today, so I'm gonna go Elias Lindholm from the Boston Bruins. Uh,
Elias Lindholm.
yeah,
Boy, never been nominated. Oh, no, he was nominated in 2022. I'm sorry. That was the year that everyone had 100 points, right?
yeah, that was that phenomenal Gaudreau Kachuk line that he was centering. That was
Yeah.
just
Yep.
out of this world good. But I think he had a plus 45. It was ridiculous. All those guys had plus
Yeah.
40s. It was crazy. But for me, I just think he's in a great system. I think he's going to have great talent around him, both on the front and back end. That's just going to make him look phenomenal. Now, I don't think he's going to look anything like Bergeron, but I think Barkov being hurt, and I think just a lot of questions around other guys. I think Rube Hintz could be another guy I could see be a sneaky dark horse pick for this, and I think that part of his game's underrated.
Okay.
But for me, I'm going to go Lindholm.
There is a good argument to be made. Now, Austin Matthews was up for this award last year. And now with a much more defensively minded and like a physically minded coach, like first shift against Montreal, Austin Matthews went out and threw a pretty big hit. And if Austin Matthews starts to engage physically and that's noticed, and then he continues to play the way that he plays defensively, especially with Barkov's injury, depending on how
Sure.
long he's out, that really could tip the scales in favor of Matthews. Being from such a big market too, that you just go, not only did he play just as well defensively, but he's actually throwing some hits too. That could tip it. He just needs to have 55 goals instead. So people are like, yeah, he cares just as much about the defensive side as the offensive. If he has 70, they'll be like, he doesn't even really care about defense.
I'll tell you what, though, I think if people put a little bit more onus on this award for wingers, I would say that Mitch Marner would probably have one by now.
He was nominated
Yeah,
in
that's what I mean. I
2023.
think he would probably have one. If people put as much value on the wing as they do in the center position for this award, I think he'd probably have one.
Yeah, since 2022, there's been only 2 wingers nominated for the Selke. That is Mitch Marner and Mark Stone in 2021. So it doesn't happen often, although Yuri Lettinen won several of those awards. Did he win? How many did he win? I think he won 3,
Yeah.
but let's check. He won 3
Ooh, okay.
Selkes. Yep. 3
Deservedly so.
Selkes. I think they were all. So he won in 97, 90. Oh, sorry, 98, 99, and then again in 2003.
Okay.
There you go. Who knew?
Not this guy.
It's funny because he had, like, the year that he won, one year he had 42 points, another year he had 52 points. So it wasn't as much about, hey, who's this really good player who also plays defense? It was like, who was phenomenal defensively, and he was. The award has become much more, hey, who's a phenomenal player and also plays phenomenal defense? Like Guy Carbonneau,
Yeah.
is it Guy Carbonneau, the guy who won a bunch of them? He was not, like, offensively gifted at all. When you go back and you look at his stats, he won Selke 3 times.
That's a bunch.
The years he won it, 38, 56, and 39 points. So not winning at a ton. No, dang it, who's the guy that won the Selke a ton of years in a row? That basically, it's another Montreal guy, just my brain is obviously
Another
not
Montreal
working
guy.
here.
Oh, Bob Gainey. He won it the
Bob
first 4
Gainey.
years in
Yeah,
a row.
Bob Gainey's the one. Yes. And they were like, oh, it's the Bob Gainey Award. But yeah, he put up, let's see, he won it. He put up 31, 38, 33, and 47 points. And that's just not going to happen anymore. You're never going to have a guy who puts up 39 points and they're like, he's a great penalty killer. Unless you got like 30 points shorthanded, you're not winning it.
30 short.
All right, your favorite award. Let's do what? Coach of the year, GM of the year?
Yeah, let's do them both. Why not? I'll make it quick.
Okay. Who do you have? Okay, yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, coach of the year, I've got Sheldon Keefe. I think we know what's going to happen in New Jersey. He's going to look phenomenal regular season, right? I agree with you. He's a phenomenal regular season coach. And GM of the year, I'm going Don Sweeney in Boston. I think the addition of Zadorov and Elias Lindholm and getting that contract done for Swayman finally, thanks to Cam Neely. But I think he's going to get the nod, especially when they finish top of that division.
Okay, I also have my prediction of top team in the Atlantic Division winning the GM of the year, which is Brad
Okay.
Treliving. I think he wins it because he's going to do something, like whether it's trading Marner or like doing something big that has a big impact on the team. And I think bringing in Craig Berube was a good move. I don't think Craig Berube wins Coach of the Year, but I think that he'll be in consideration. If you're the top team in the league, you're probably going to be one of the nominees, especially you go his first year in the league.
I even think if they just win that division.
My Coach of the Year. Right. My Coach of the Year. This is kind of anti my predictions. I do have Detroit in that second wild card spot, Boston in the first. But I do think that Montreal is in a position to compete for that spot. And if things don't go perfect for my predictions and Montreal, I think Montreal could get in. I think they have a legitimate shot at making the playoffs. Martin St. Louis, hands down, wins Coach of the Year. So I've got Martin St. Louis winning the Coach of the Year because what he has done for Cole Caulfield, it just in what now 2.5 seasons, I think you may like Cole Caulfield could have 50 goals this year.
Okay.
We're going to be talking end of the year. We're going to be talking about, is Cole Caulfield going to have 50
Is it
goals?
enough when you don't make the playoffs?
If they make the playoffs, yes.
Okay. They make the playoffs.
Only if they make the playoffs. That's why I'm saying if they don't make the playoffs, then no. But if they make the playoffs and I'm on the bubble about them being in the playoffs, I could see a scenario where Detroit doesn't make it and Montreal does.
Sure. I could see that.
So in that case, I think St. Louis wins it. And I'm picking Martin St. Louis. I'm going to be right about something. Either they'll miss the playoffs and he won't win it, or the teams I said that made the playoffs will be in.
All right. There you go.
I'm covering all my bases here. Okay. Let's go your favorite trophy, the Vezina.
I think you probably know where I'm going with this one. It's going to be Igor Shesterkin for me. Again, I think he's necessarily going to carry the Rangers, but I don't think we're going to see a terrible year. He's going to have a really good year, probably a 920 save percentage, maybe 40 wins this season, and he's going to get that big contract he wants, right? He rejected the 8x11 deal. I think he's got, with that being out there, I think he's got to go out and earn it now, right? He's got to go out there and prove that, you know what, I'm worth that money. I'm worth the investment. If you're going to spend $12 million a year on a goaltender, I think.
Did you see the rumor that that there's a team out there that is willing to pay him a max?
A max.
I heard a max deal.
I'd like to know what team that is.
Ooh. I thought I heard it was LA, but it might have just been LA's willing to give him 8 years at some big number, but I heard a max.
Wow.
But
see, I could see Utah doing that, making a splash this offseason again.
I don't think he'd go to Utah. Not a guy I'm in New York. I'm a Ranger, and I think he wants to be there. I think this deal gets done.
I do too.
He'll stay with New York. As soon as they come at the right number, he'll sign. I know he said he won't sign during the year. He'll sign. He'll go, they offered me $13 million, so I said yes. Apparently, he wants more than Panarin.
Wow. Yeah, I think he means more to that team, in my opinion, than Panarin does. But when you're not playing 82 games,
you can't play more than like 55, 60 games.
That's the problem, right?
That's the problem.
We'll see.
That's the tough part about paying a goalie that much money. But really, if you're a good team and you're paying a goalie that, you're not paying them for those extra 10 games that maybe somebody else is playing over him. You're paying him for the playoffs.
Bingo.
And really, he has been good in the playoffs. The Rangers have gotten to where they did, and the fact that they went from rebuilding to a really damn good team quickly is because of Shesterkin. Yeah, Panarin came there, and they got some high draft picks, which really didn't even have hardly panned out. Other Lafreniere has started to pan out.
He's not a reason.
He's not there. He's not. He doesn't look like he'll ever be a first overall pick that many other teams have been able to capitalize on. But he's a fine player. But it's Shesterkin. If they didn't have Shesterkin, they're probably not in the position they're in. All right, I think the last one we have left is my pick. For the first time in a very long time, I have the same goalie winning 2 years in a row. And that would be Connor Hellebuyck.
I like it. Trophy number 3.
I think they're a better team, and he's going to win it. He's going to win it again. With that new deal, you get that distraction, free camp coming in. I think he's just going to be better than ever.
Okay. I don't hate it. I love him. So he's in the top 3 for me all day long.
I know you love him. All right, let's go Hart. Who's your Hart trophy?
Austin Matthews.
Matthews,
even though, again,
for the Hart.
McKinnon's got the Art Ross. He's got the points. But, again, I think he's going to quietly – I don't want to say quietly because it's going to be a topic of conversation. But I think he's accidentally going to hit that 70-goal mark. And, even if he's within 10 points, I think of McKinnon or McDavid there at the top. I think 70 goals is too hard to ignore.
Yeah, if he gets 70 for sure. Nobody's ever gotten 70 goals and not won the Hart Trophy. So
Brett Hall.
it's just like an automatic. I know he did win the Hart,
Yeah,
didn't
but
he?
I think he got 70 more than once. So,
He did have 70 more than once. He had 86 and yeah, he only won the Hart the 1 year. Let's see. Yeah, he had 72,
yeah, he didn't
86, 70. Okay, yeah, so maybe it was that they're at least nominated
yeah, he
for the
was
Hart. Yeah, he was nominated both
yeah,
of
he
those
got
years.
3rd place those other 2 years.
But let's be honest though, he had 72 goals and was still a -1. And then he had 70 goals and he was a -2.
Oh,
So, yeah, defense wasn't really his thing. My Hart Trophy pick, I was like, I know everyone tends to look at like, who wins the Rocket, who wins the Art Ross. I think maybe there's a guy who's in the mix for all of them and helps his team to have a phenomenal year. And I think that he's due for some trophy. I think Jack Eichel is going to win the Hart.
okay. I could
I
see a couple Jacks winning
people
this award.
Yeah, Jack
Mhm.
Hughes could, yeah. But I think Jack Eichel is gonna take this one. I think he'll be up there in points. He already is, but, I think he'll be up there in points at the end. I think this is probably the year that he finally eclipses he's had 32 or 30 goals twice. He had 31 last year, 36 the year before. I think he probably has 30 goals again, but I think he's gonna eclipse that 82 career point mark. I think he gets 100 points and plus. And I think he'll be really important for Vegas.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So
Look, they're
and I think the league would love to give Vegas a trophy like that.
yeah, I agree with you.
So,
I think as long as Stone can stay healthy because Barbashev, Stone, Eichel look phenomenal, and that lack of depth up front,
yep,
right? No more Chandler Stevenson, no more Marcia. So I think there's gonna be more opportunity for Eichel to take advantage.
yep.
So,
And this would be the year to do it. He's still on the positive side of 30. He'll turn 28 here on the 28th in just 2 weeks. So, this would be the year, like the heart of your prime, 28 years old, to go out and have a
yeah.
career year.
I will
So, who'd you pick for the
So
heart?
I picked Austin Matthews, right? I will
Oh,
say the one
oh
sneaky
yeah, you
dark
said.
horse pick, I think we talked about both Jacks, Connor McDavid. If for some reason, I know you and I both had this team missing the playoffs, but if some reason they get in, I think it's going to be because this guy. It wouldn't shock me to see Sidney Crosby's name up towards the top of the list.
If they make the playoffs, it's probably gonna be
Exactly.
because of
Yeah.
him.
It's not going to
Falcons look
be
really
he
good
has, but
too,
I don't think goaltending is going
rookie
to
year,
carry them, and I don't think defense
but
is going to do it.
Crosby.
So it's going to be on Crosby's back. So that could get him a lot of consideration.
Yeah, I would love to see it. By the way, did you see the commercial? I'm sure you have, the Gen Z commercial, the
No, I don't
NHL.
think so.
Oh, you haven't seen it? You gotta go look it up.
Okay.
It's like Connor Bedard, Nick Suzuki, I think Celebrini's in there, a bunch of
Yeah.
younger stars, and they're all Austin Matthews is on there. They're all talking about, like, basically the stereotypes about Gen Z, like, everything's handed to me, and it shows Jack Eichel getting the Stanley Cup and the different little, like, stereotypes about a Gen Z. Um, and then you've got Sidney Crosby at the very end, and he's like, "Kids these days." It's just great. It's really great. You gotta
Oh,
go look it up. I'll post a
I
link
love it.
in the description there. But it's probably the best commercial that I've seen the league do
Okay,
in
I miss those
years.
old ESPN commercials, like where you had or we had Ovechkin coming in from the ceiling. What are you, some sort of Russian spy? And he gets pulled away. It's just the greatest
Where where he orders Crosby
pieces.
all the pizzas. Yeah. I always my favorite ones, the best ones ever. They were a CBC one, I think. It was back in the day, Stanley Cup was or the playoffs were all on CBC. And it was the commercials were like, "I'd do anything for the cup. I'd even do this thing." And it would be like some insane thing. And one of them was like, "I'd even wear breast implants." And it's like a guy, a man running down the street and he's it's just bouncing on him.
Oh, no.
It was like NHL commercials. There was one where it was like, "I'd even wear a moose costume during mating season," and it's this guy walking around in a moose costume, and then a moose, like, sticks its head up in the camera and is
Oh,
like,
no.
I will post links to those commercials. I'll go find them, I'll send them to you, they're
Mm,
phenomenal. I'll just post them on
good
our
stuff.
Instagram or something. I'm sure I can find them. No, that's our show. There's our predictions for the season. we'll stash those away and we'll consult those later on. And now here we go. Here's hockey
Mm.
started. We're 3, 4 games in, and next show we'll just break down early returns. What we're seeing out there, and uh, let us know if you have any questions at OT Hockey Talk on Instagram and Twitter and or X, whatever it's called, and we'll keep riding it out. Justin, any final thoughts?
I'll see you when I get back from the Sunshine State. So
Yeah, have fun in Florida. Have a great time.
I don't really want to go if I'm being honest with you. Well, I shouldn't say it like that. Like I
What?
don't mind going on vacation to Florida, but I this time of year it's just nice outside. I'd rather go north or Colorado
True.
or
Yeah, it's
something and camp.
nice here. Although hopefully wherever you're going, there's still the
Yeah,
hotels
we're
there or
so her
wherever you're
parents
staying.
have a place in Destin, so we've got free lodging. They own a condo down there,
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah.
Nice. Nice. Awesome. Have fun on your trip. Stay safe. And we will talk to all of our listeners very soon.